Welcome back to the fourth part of our For Real Movie Club. Usually this is the last film, but since we're doing phase one, this is 4 out of 6. We're almost there, guys. This film we're going to be talking about is Thor. So we're heading to Asgard. Tony, we'll start with you on this one. What were your initial thoughts on Thor?
First off, I can't pass up the joke. This is now the Thor Real Movie Club. Uh, uh,
Jesus
uh,
Christ.
I await, I await the terrible comments below. But Thor is a movie that I went into expecting it to be god awful. I mean, after Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2 weren't really the strongest entries, my patience in Marvel was growing a little bit thin, and I was never a fan of Thor. I always thought that it was a ridiculous character. I don't like things like Lord of the Rings and all that much. You've got dwarves and elves and magic and whatever. Magic in general, I don't like, and when you include the Viking kind of motif, then I dislike it even more. So Thor was a character that I purposely never got into in the comics because I could read Iron Man, I could read obviously Spider-Man is awesome and X-Men's awesome, and I was even interested in like Silver Surfer and stuff. But Thor was just like, ugh, do I really want to have them talk about Malekith, the Dark Elf, and the fucking what's the name of that Ulick the Troll and whatever? Like that's so dumb. This movie's gonna suck. And holy shit, the beginning of this movie is actually pretty fucking cool. It won me over. There's some flaws in it, and those flaws have continued into the Thor Dark World, and they're going to continue into Ragnarok because they will not get rid of these fucking characters. But Thor is so much better than I would have expected it to be, and it's actually one of my more favorite Phase 1 films to watch.
Sam, what are your initial thoughts on Thor?
My initial thoughts going into it were, did they seriously just make a movie about the Thor comics? Like, like Tony said, like I could read all sorts of comics. The Mighty Thor, the dude who like hits a stick to the ground and transforms into a Norse god. Like I thought it was incredibly stupid. I never liked Loki. I never liked the concept. It all just seemed absolutely ridiculous. Other than I thought his hammer was pretty cool. Then like the trailers started to kind of win me over a little bit. I'm like, all right, I'll at least go see it. And then like Tony said, like I almost had to take a step back because if I had just watched the movie and rated it, I'd have been like, oh my god, this is like a 9. Like this is awesome. Not there, but it's definitely a movie that it went above and beyond my expectations for it. And for all of its flaws, it was a good, watchable movie with really cool effects at times.
Eddie, what were your initial thoughts on Thor?
Well, I'd like to mention that I gave the Hulk a 1. Uh, Other than that, this movie it was kind of, it was cool. It was really pleasant. And I think visually there were a lot of, Asgard had a lot of colors and there's a lot going on. And I thought that there was a bizarre synergy between Asgard and Earth. It was weird. Like things in Asgard, everything was over the top. And then all of a sudden in Earth, everything's just flat and boring. I think he's there like, I need a horse. Like it was silly, but it kind of worked. I guess kind of like Sam put it. Like I was skeptical at first, but it kind of won me over little by little. Um, I guess I do have to say that there were some aspects. I don't know. I didn't care much for that Loki dude, or even Chris Hemsworth. Is that his name?
Mhm.
Even him. Well, we're gonna talk about the casting soon, but I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of the protagonist and antagonist.
Tony, what were your thoughts on casting?
The characters that are from Earth are completely interchangeable. You can replace them with any other actors, doesn't matter. And I'm a big fan of Natalie Portman. She's kind of worthless. Like, they could have gone for somebody cheaper, and I wouldn't have cared. And Darcy shouldn't even exist. So, Kat Dennings fans, sorry, she's unnecessary. Hemsworth is amazing for Thor, I think. Lots of people wanted somebody like a Triple H, some big tough guy to pull off the character. They went with somebody who was a relative unknown, and they scored. He is one of the biggest people that they could have possibly gotten for the role physically, but he was also able to get the character down, and he ended up being a huge gem. But even more so, Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Loki's a character that I never really cared about just because of the whole, surrounding environments and stuff. Whenever they had announced that they were going to probably build towards Loki in the Avengers, I was really not looking forward to that. I'm like, damn it, Loki? Like, we're going to have Loki in Thor, and we're going to have Loki in Avengers. Why can't we get Masters of Evil, where we've at least got Red Skull, and, maybe they can try to get Doctor Doom, maybe they can try to do this, try to do that, get Abomination in there too. Like, you gotta at least include other guys, because it can't just be Loki. That character's dumb. Tom Hiddleston is amazing. There's a reason why he is one of the most beloved characters in the comic books now, and it's not necessarily just because of the comic books, it's because of these movies. That character has transcended it. And, they had thought about giving him his spin-off film. That speaks volumes. For a character that is the central focus of not only Thor as far as a villain is, but Thor 2 and the Avengers, and he's going to be the main focus for villains for Ragnarok. People still want to see more of Tom Hiddleston as Thor. That is amazing. Casting for this film in a lot of different ways for the supporting characters was right on the mark. I mean, the Warriors 3 are great, although there's an upgrade in the second film with getting rid of Josh Dallas and replacing it with Zachary Levi. What's her? I can't think of her name. The one who plays Sif. Jamie Alexander.
Yeah.
She's able to pull off a character that a lot of people probably would have made it seem too much like, I'm a badass and I'm a woman, that kind of thing. And she does that without being annoying, which is very hard to find. So credit to her too. Credit to pretty much everybody except for Natalie Portman and Kat Dennings.
Eddie, what are your thoughts on the casting for Thor?
I thought it was good. Again, I don't usually analyze these kind of films because I watch them once and go, that was cool and stuff. Then a year later, I'll watch it again, or 6 months later or something. So here's the thing. I think, visually, Chris Hemsworth is the perfect Thor. I can't think of anybody else who could play him. Even if you could get a Swedish guy or a Norwegian guy, it probably wouldn't be as good. And just he delivers, but I'm not a huge fan of him overall. I'm not even sure what he did before or what he's doing now. But Loki. Here's the thing about Loki. I think the actor gave a really interesting portrayal. And he brought this really great credibility to the character. The mischief, the backstabbing, the double entendres, whatever you want to throw in. I think it worked because of the actor, the Tom Hiddleston. But otherwise, I don't care for the character at all. I don't see what the big deal is. I don't know what the hell the 9 gag stuff is all the time. The Loki, the most lovable character. I'm like, I hate Loki. I hate Loki. Great actor, shitty character. Loki. I mean, that's the point. I hate him because he sucks. Loki, not the actor. Natalie Portman is, I don't know, she's cute and hot, and that's it. But it could have been anyone. It could have been anyone. She's done some great stuff, but it could have been anyone. I like the Swedish guy. I like the fact that Thor is like the Scandinavian mythological god, and they got a Swedish guy to play in the movie. I thought it was pretty cool. And there was that sidekick, that chick. What was her name?
Darcy.
She was totally useless. Complete, like she might as well not even have been there. I love Idris Elba for Heimdall, and apparently in the actual Nordic mythology, Heimdall is pure. Like his skin is as white as snow and is super blonde. He's the whitest person in the world, and it got a black guy. That's totally cool. Nobody else deserves mention. Oh wait, Anthony Hopkins is cool. I think it was really authoritarian,
Yes.
and he delivered. He really delivered.
Could they have done better for Odin? I doubt it.
Yes, but he's dead.
Ew.
Alec Guinness.
Hmm.
No, maybe not. Like Anthony Hopkins has that meaner kind of like, "How dare you talk back to me, boy?" You know. Yeah.
Ha!
That or Morgan Freeman.
He's got that British, he's got that British finesse, but he's also like really barbaric at the same time. And then Rene Russo was totally. They could have spared some money and hired someone else. I didn't even know what her budget was, but and then I don't know. Everybody else was just kind of secondary character and didn't really stand out that much. That's it. I thought it was a solid casting. It was just maybe a lot of people, come to think of it.
Sam, what were your thoughts on casting?
I'm going to separate this into Earth and Asgard / Jotunheim. Well, the only one who really mattered in Jotunheim was Laufey, which I thought was interesting that Laufey is actually Loki's mother, not his father. So a little bit of a sex change here. Sometimes you can do that and get away with it. Yeah. He worked. Like, you didn't really need too much from him. He was, for what he needed to do, he was good. And he had that little moment, for me at least, that worked. When Thor and the gang went to Jotunheim, and he said, "You know not what your actions would unleash. I do." And you could see the pain in his eyes because you know he's referring to the loss of his son. So that was like that. All right, that little tiny throwaway minor character for the overall movie took it for me. I liked that. The other Jotuns, some of them talked, most of them didn't. It was fine. I did like the one that roared, and then Thor kind of roars back at him just to mock him. I like that. I thought that was cool. Asgard, love Anthony Hopkins as Odin. I thought that was perfect. I couldn't have imagined anything better than that. Tom Hiddleston for Loki. Again, this is a comic book I don't care about. Animated movies that I don't care about. This was good. Loki did what he needed to do. This isn't my favorite Loki moment in movies, but for this, it was fine. The only thing I didn't like is when he I didn't understand his motives when I first saw the movie. It took me 2 or 3 times where it's like, okay, is he joking? Is he a trickster? Is he evil? Is he good but hurt? Like, I could not figure this guy out. And I don't think that was Tom Hiddleston's fault. I think the writers kind of didn't define him as a good person who likes to trick people into a darker villain. I don't think I saw that transition very smoothly. I couldn't have imagined him as Thor. Oh my god. He auditioned for Thor. I can't picture that. Mostly because Chris Hemsworth is Thor. Like, you got Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. He is Thor. Like, I can't picture anybody else now, having seen him in a few movies as Thor, to really like make me want to see these movies. He's the draw. He's why you go to see it. Heimdall, good casting. Idris Elba probably wasted him a little bit. I think that's why Heimdall had more to do in the second one, only because now he's such a big star. Now they're going to have to find ways to fit Heimdall into situations where he didn't need to be, just to highlight the actor. But whatever. Frigga, his mother, I think they spent that extra little 100,000 or whatever to get her because of Thor: The Dark World. But for this movie, you're right. She didn't have much to do. And then the Sif and the Warriors 3, they played their part. Like Tony said, she didn't be like, I'm a woman who kicks ass. It was just, she's a woman and she's kicking ass. It didn't matter that she was a woman, except for the little throwaway line Thor says in the beginning to rally the troops. Like, hey, you're a woman and you're a warrior. I backed you. Remember that? Other than that, totally fine. The Warriors 3 are just 3 characters I don't care about. So, on to Earth. Skarsgård as the scientist. What's his name? I always forget this guy's name. Selvig, right. This is the only movie I have seen him in where he was important and he mattered, and I'm glad he was there. He's going to be in Age of Ultron again. I don't understand. He was good for what he needed to be for this movie. He bridged the mythology of the Norse, and he respected Thor at the end. He was a good component. Darcy Lewis was just comic relief. That was it. She was literally there to make some jokes that most of them fell flat. And Natalie Portman was just a complete miscast. Or they didn't write her well. I honestly can't tell which it was. Either you shouldn't have paid for Natalie Portman for this kind of character, or you should have given Natalie Portman more to work with. And I know it's probably the writing, because I like Natalie Portman, and I saw her in Thor the Dark World, and I felt exactly the same. Their love connection does not work. It is not like Pepper and Tony, where it's a mutual love and respect for each other. This is almost just like a bond of lust. Like, wow, I think you're hot. Wow, I think you're hot too. And they hook up. That's all I felt from this movie. So other minor characters on Earth that might have popped up. Coulson was good. I liked Coulson in this movie more than I liked him in Iron Man 2. Other than that, okay, we saw Jasper Sitwell. He'll be important later. We saw Hawkeye for 2 minutes. Cool. That another little Avengers setup. Hoo-hoo. That was it. That was all for me. And then the fucking end credit scene is Loki like possessing him. Does he not have the scepter yet? Like, is he a ghost? Like that was like, there was no reason for them to have that, and it didn't go anywhere in the Avengers. So that was a complete throwaway waste of an end credit scene. End rant.
Just give a little facts before we jump into the final thoughts and the rankings. It was released 1 year after Iron Man 2 on May 6, 2011, with a runtime of 114 minutes and a budget of $150 million. The box office was $449.3 million. Tony, we'll start with you. Final thoughts, high point, low point, and a ranking 1 to 10.
Thor's going to get about a 7.5 to me as far as the ranking goes. It's a much stronger film, and this was a huge upswing for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Definitely one of my more favorite ones to listen to. Great score, by the way. That's another thing. I would much rather listen to the score from this than almost any of the other ones, although Incredible Hulk has an amazing one from Craig Armstrong, too.
Are you saying you would like to listen to the score from Thor?
That was worse than mine.
Yeah, this is bad, guys. Real.
The favorite and least favorite aspects to this, it's a clear divide. The things with Jane, Selvig, and Darcy are the worst, and the things that are the best are the Asgard stuff. And that's the total opposite of what I thought was going to end up happening when I went into this movie. I figured Thor on Earth would be fun, but all that stupid Asgardian crap where they're talking about whatever, and, you know, I thought that I'd be bored to tears with that. And instead, that Shakespearean aspect that was brought in through Kenneth Branagh, perfect choice for the director, by the way. That is what's fun about this movie. The stuff on Earth and New Mexico, that's where the thing drags. And there's a couple fun parts, you know. I mean, I got to give credit to the whole another smash. Like, that's fun.
Yeah.
But anything that you're following what Jane's doing is a bore. Anything that you're following what Loki's doing or what Odin is up to and all that, that's the fun stuff. So, when it comes to Ragnarok, what we're going to get, I'm hoping we get infinitely more Asgardian stuff than we do Earth.
If you like it so much, why don't you just move there?
I might, but I am curious, Eddie, what you think about the Asgardian portrayal versus the Brazilian.
Well, they got everything almost right, except that usually there are constant orgies going on. So I guess they just had to censor it.
Let's start with you, Eddie. What was your final thoughts, high, low, ranking 1 to 10?
The high point, most of the stuff happening in Asgard, just like Tony said. And Natalie Portman naked. That was really cool.
Wait, when did that happen? I think I fell asleep.
But you have to picture it. You got to work with it. You got to work for it. But that was a good point. Most of the Asgard stuff and the occasional joke here and there, but I don't know. I almost LOL'd. Like it was like a horse. I was like, huh, that's pretty funny. And another smash. But yeah, the low point was some of the Earth stuff was boring. Like when they're in the town, they're like, I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of walking around and doing nothing for some reason. Also, I couldn't grasp, like, if nobody can pick up the hammer, why not just like cut underneath it so you can at least, like, I don't know, get like a bulldozer, like, I don't know. No, not a bulldozer. What do you call it? Like one of those like Caterpillar tractors to lift. I'm sure there's a way around it. Okay, I'm sure there's a way around it. You don't have to pick up the hammer on your own, but like it seems like it's more like stuck on the rock than anything. So like just cut the rock underneath. I'll give it a 6. It's very schizophrenic in the sense that there are some great moments and then there's some boring moments, boring as hell. I don't know. Like it didn't seem like it ended very well, but that's just me.
Sam, what were your final thoughts? High point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10.
Start with the ranking. I'm going to give this movie a solid 7 out of 10. The good aspects about it, I think, just overshadow the bad enough that I consider this a solid, good movie. The final thoughts of it is going to be the same as my low point, actually. It's not a point in the film in particular. It's just the writing for the slow parts. There's got to be slow parts. You can't just have action, action, action. Transformers has shown us this. When you just have action, you don't have a good movie. So the slow parts are important. And this is an example of what not to do in the slow parts. The dialogue isn't catching me. The characters aren't portraying the dialogue in my mind correctly at all times. When Thor is explaining the world tree to Natalie Portman's character Jane, I don't get that. Like I understand it, but I'm like I'm not pulled into the movie. I'm kind of jolted out of it a little bit. Like, why is there this sudden slow part? Like, why isn't it here or here? Jane being a physicist instead of a nurse or a doctor or whatever she was, total sense for the movie. Good work on their part, considering he's an alien and it makes more sense that she's an astrophysicist studying all this stuff. But just like, why, when they said goodbye to Thor in New Mexico, then they go off, they have a run-in with S.H.I.E.L.D., they're sitting on top of their building after S.H.I.E.L.D. takes all their stuff, they're talking about things, they go to the library, and they're looking up stuff, they find that book on Norse mythology, they look it over for a second, and then Thor, after just leaving them back there, is just now in the pet store looking for something to ride, and they pull up and say, hey, you need a ride? What the hell was Thor doing that whole time when S.H.I.E.L.D. was with them and when they were talking and when they went to the library? That town is not that big. What was, like, that's poor writing. That's you not understanding, like, what other characters are doing while this is going on. It's just, that's an example. And then the fight with the Destroyer should have been, like, the it moment for this film. More so, I think, than the fight with Loki. And, like, the Destroyer was, like, 2 seconds. It was over. Like, it fought them with a depowered Thor for a little bit. Thor gets his powers, fight over. And then he goes and fights Loki. Loki should not have been a match for Thor. And I know Thor didn't want to hurt him, didn't want to fight him. I still didn't buy it. I didn't buy that. But the Asgard stuff is the high point of this movie. Still, to me, will overshadow the bad, and I'll give it a solid 7.
Well, that does it for Thor for us, ladies and gentlemen. Stick around, click the next YouTube link as we head into Captain America, or for you, those of you in Korea, the first Avenger on the For Real Movie Club.